Alright, boys. Thursday. Calm before the storm. Well, I thought so. I thought so. But then we had an absolute stunning piece of UK data. Huge jump in the PMI. Alright, so the forecast was only for another negative contraction in the GDP UK PMI to jump from 48 to 49 as some of the BOE optimism came through from the recent huge stimulus plan. It jumped to 53.3. Alright, that's huge. This combined with that retail sales number, all of a sudden, perhaps the UK economy is not going to do as bad post-Brexit as everyone thought. Okay, the potential for this to become a huge theme in the market is really real. I was wondering if there was going to be some more data to back it up, but we just got some. Alright, that's a massive increase in the business optimism. Alright, so if we get a couple more pieces suggesting the same thing, in particular, if we get, say, the construction PMI jumping above 50 tomorrow, services PMI, I do believe we're going to have to wait until next week. Let me see that. Alright, imagine if we get the trifecta, the services PMI on Monday. Imagine we've got the trifecta where all of them jump back into expansionary territory, no recession, BOE's done the stimulus, there's no more stimulus coming because the economy is actually snapping back to this, responding to this low pound rate, and we get this pound surge. I'm really excited about this potentiality because I'm in love buying the pound when it's safe. And in fact, I love selling the euro pound. Okay, I've been selling the euro pound since way back. Most of that sell-off I got. Okay, that multi-month, multi-year sell-off all the way from 84 down to 70, bounce back up to 74, back down to 70. Brexit, we've got room to move here. We've got a lot of room, at least down to 75, 78, if there is no Brexit collapse. All right, and you can imagine what these charts will look like with another red candle here on the monthly, on the weekly, a little bit deeper below 82. You got some selling coming through, and the market just focusing on that. The other way to play it, if the Fed is going to deliver, long pound yen. Pound yen has got a massive amount of room to move. Pound Swiss has got a massive amount of room to move. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close out this euro pound. I'm going to be selling on the smallest of retraces. I don't want to be out of this market. A427. It's not a theme just yet. I just predict it would become a theme, that the UK post-Brexit is not going to collapse, and that will fuel a huge short covering rally, potentially 1,000 pips type move in the coming months, regardless of the Fed. Alright, I'm not going to play against the pound because the Fed is probably going to cap that pound rally, but while the dollar yen saying moving, I don't know, potentially to 105, 107 area, you know, if the pound can get up to say 135, that's still moving the euro pound, the pound yen, back to 142, 140, you know, previous highs at least. Probably break that though in a serious short squeeze. Alright, so this is really exciting for me as a trader. I'd like to see this sort of news unravel. A lot of traders are like, oh, it's too overbought. Potentially, but the smallest of dips, right, probably going to get bought on this now. This is a pretty big story that it's going to require quick reversal of fortune to not become a theme. All right? If the UK construction PMI is solid tomorrow, you know, back above 50, imagine that. And the services back above 50, imagine that. It'll be 135, even if the Fed's going to raise rates. So it's a pretty big deal. It's something that you should be really aware of as traders. And just pick your poison to be buying the pound against. The trade that we sort of been developing is the pound Kiwi. I mean, the thing about the pound Kiwi is that it's scarily fast, the amount it moves. And I don't trust the Kiwi as much as I trust some of the other pairs. I'm actually not that experienced with pound Kiwi. I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't traded it that much. I don't know. I don't have a feel for the 200 point move I mean, a 150 point move in the pound yen equates to, say, a 250 point move in the pound kiwi. I don't have a feel for the pound kiwi's movement. The pip sizes, the values. It's. I want to buy it, but I'm like, is it safe now? Is the kiwi rolled over? It fits with my theme that New Zealand dollar is going to get smashed a lot more than most pairs post Fed tightening, especially if stock market's coming under pressure. It fits with my theme of long Aussie kiwi. I mean, it's got some cross currents going on there. And the BOE is a week before the Fed, and the BOE has to respond to this. Data coming out that's surprisingly strong. All right, and now if it responds in a way which is like we're neutral now and we're going to see how it responds, we're very happy with the market reacting like this, blah blah blah. Yeah, that's great. If they try and talk it down, we'll buy that dip because we know what they're playing at. They're just playing at we want the currency weak to make sure that we get a pretty stable recovery. All right, so they're not fools. Mark Carney's no fool. Wheeler at the RBNZ might be a fool. Mark Carney is no fool. So he won't be too excited about this bounce back, but we can get bounce back excitement and we can buy any dip that he can induce in 2 weeks time. But pre-game we want to be long anyway before that pullback that potentially happens, because we could be up at 136, 137 if that is the case. So is it safe to be buying the pound just in case if the NFP is weak? And if it's not weak, buying more on the dip. Maybe. That's a trade idea. Alright, so you got exposure, you're not afraid. If it comes in strong, you're just going to be buying that pound dip. Who would win between a post-Brexit sell-off, short squeeze, and a new Fed rate hiking cycle? Well, we're not at 160 anymore. We're at 130. Alright, the positioning of the market is heavily short the pound. I suspect the pound would cover faster than the US dollar strength would put it should. And that you would see the pound be the strongest currency in the market in the coming months. The US dollar be the second strongest. And then basically you can pick the pound to buy against any pair you want and make money. But is it worth the risk to go long the pound versus the US dollar into the NFP, or is there a better pair? I mean, I'm a pretty risk sensitive guy, so I would probably be looking at Euro pound short and pound Swiss long. They should do okay regardless of what happens with the NFP. But it is a trade idea. It's a trade idea I'm going to look at a little bit, see if I can get myself into some new trouble buying the pound. I mean, look, we can either make a lot of money here, or we just be completely wrong about the next 2 PMIs. You know, just the manufacturing jumped back because it alone had some sort of special relationship to the new stimulus, and the construction sector didn't respond, and the services sector didn't respond. You know, that's... I mean, I can't imagine the service sector not responding. You know, you should have a lot of interest in tourism and a few other things coming through to the UK. But you know, we'll play it as it is. It's going to be an interesting pair going forward. You know, the reaction here is not over the top. This is mild compared to that new game that could be in play. And I'm sure a lot of analysts are going to be coming out saying the same sort of shit. It's just going to be, you know, there'll be a new meta come out, a new theme in the markets, and we may want to hop on early. Right, so I'm pretty excited. I'm just waiting. I'm being patient. I'm not going to jump in. I mean, I just took profit on a pound long, right? So I'm not being crazy here. Let's have a little look though at that Euro pound to see if it's Euro pound's doing nothing. Pound Swiss is a bit more reasonable. Oh God! All right, I'm just going to sell here because I actually want to be. I don't want to miss a second leg. I'll sell more if it gets a little bounce here. And my previous high, look, that's probably never going to get filled if this is a new game. So we're chasing when this is a little dangerous, chasing the market, but I see big gains coming. for the pound. But that was not even supposed to be what this talk was about. We're supposed to be talking about the US dollar strength last night, new lows on the Aussie, new highs on the dollar yen, and the US dollar strength pre-NFP as market position for that. I mean, you can understand why erring on the side of US dollar strength here makes sense. It's because if it comes in at 180k as forecast, that's enough to pretty much give it a good shot that's going to be a September rate hike. If it comes in higher than that, that's almost confirming September rate hike. If it comes in lower, alright, it doesn't exactly take off the September rate hike from the table unless it's, say, below 100k. So many scenarios result in US dollar strength that, you know, potentially we are going to be seeing US dollar strength into the announcement. And not much of a range trade. I was expecting more of a range trading, but we got that break on the pound, sorry, break on the gold, and the break on the oil lower last night, and dollar yen just doing its relentless rally. So this is capping the euro. Euro is a bit quieter than the others, and with the exception of the pound, the US dollar is doing quite well. And so I am mildly optimistic here about being US dollar long and pound long. Really just got to pick the pair you want to be involved in. I'm more comfortable selling Kiwi than I am selling the buying the pound Kiwi, because I've traded a lot of Kiwi. Now the Kiwi is still, you can just tell by looking at the charts, the Kiwi is still well supported. So the market hasn't flipped on it yet. It flipped on the euro, it flipped on the Aussie, it's flipped on the dollar yen. Hasn't flipped on the Kiwi. Will the strong US dollar post NFP be enough to flip the Kiwi? That would be great, because the potential to move, and we talked about this a couple of days ago, the 200, it's sitting so far above its 200-day moving average that a move into US dollar strength and a change of the technicals, a change of the mentality, which has been buy on the dip, a change to sell on the rally, over time breaking down supports will lead to a bigger move on the Kiwi than it would on some of the other pairs, just because the market's so high already. Yeah, so traders have to make money from the movement of the market. Right, that's something which sometimes gets forgotten. So for the sellers to make money here, they've got to get to these certain levels. For the buyers to give in, they have to break these certain levels, and these certain levels are further away on the Kiwi than on some of the other pairs. And so when this market turns, even though the positioning on this one is not extremely long, it's the technicals on this one are extremely long. Right, the price is extremely high, the relative price. So it got up here relatively easily. The market hasn't been in any interest to sell it. Once you get some interest to sell it, it becomes a fair fight. If the US dollar strength is strong enough, you're going to get this potential move back to this 200-day moving average, which is significantly further away than, say, the Aussie, which is quite close. Where's the Aussie? Ranting about moving averages. Alright, so the 200-day moving average is quite close here. I don't trust this 200-day moving average on the MetaTrader. I think it's a little bit lower than that. I don't trust MetaTrader text at all, actually. I'd rather use another program for pretty much all that. I mean, let's just have a look here. 200 is 74.15. Let's bring it up on the pro real-time charts, a little bit more reliable. Okay, well that didn't really show what I wanted to show. It's pretty much the same. Someone was telling me in a bank report that it's 73.80. Danksy was telling us that. We're going to have a look at that bank report later. They have an updated one each day, so we'll see what they say on those bank reports. Perhaps they're using a different method, right? Maybe Definitely wasn't an EMA, so I don't know. We'll have a look. You know, the close or the open isn't going to change to 30 pips, so that's odd. Just make a change back to 1,000 units. Alright. Maybe we can trust MT4 a little bit. Haha. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about being long US dollar. I'm just waiting for the right levels, waiting for the right pairs, and then I'm going to be entering a lot of that next week. Probably we're doing a live NFP tomorrow. That's going to be fun. What I'm looking for actually is slightly weak. Slightly weak would lead to a little bit of US dollar selling to some nice levels that I can buy the US dollar again. If it doesn't take the Fed risk off the table, then that Fed risk alone should be enough to create that US dollar strength in coming weeks as we get closer. So it's not like if it comes in at 140,000 that the next speech you're going to hear from Dudley is that we're in no hurry to raise the rates. These guys are all hawkish given the market. They're buying optionality, so they will continue to buy optionality into that Fed meeting, which should lead to that US dollar strength. So I'm happy if it comes in a little bit weak, we get a pullback on the dollar yen to the low 103s or high 102s, a pullback on the Aussie towards 76. You know, I'll be able to sell into that. I'm not going to trade pre-game. I'm not going to trade before it, but I will be looking to get involved after it. That should be quite a good night tomorrow night. Last time we had like 220 people watching it live, and we made a fair bit of money, so it was good. I was a bit lucky though. Alright, so if you're watching me over at the YouTube live streaming site, come across to Forex Signals. We have a chat room in there. You can ask me questions there. I will not respond to your questions over in the YouTube area. What's my thoughts on dollar yen? Anger that I'm not long. I'm loving pound yen and dollar yen right now. I just want to be long them. I mean, just for funsies, let's get long a little bit. Maybe not. I shouldn't do just for funsies on the stream. But I'm looking to get long. That's why I'm hoping for slightly weak NFP to get long on a nice level. It left me behind this rally. So yeah, I'm a bit disappointed in that because, you know, me and dollar yen are pretty tight most of the time. I got a lot of the big rally the first time. Got most of that rally. Got 700 pips out of that rally. And I haven't bought yet. I should have bought on Monday. I mean, it was ridiculously bullish. And you know, with the BOJ has backup in the week to come, you know, you just have to pull the trigger. We didn't get the pullbacks, right? This is a problem with being a non-impulsive trader. You know, I'm trying to be really disciplined. I'm missing all these entries. Back in my wild days, I would just be in that market like a madman. But the same problem is if you are more impulsive, you get stuck into crazy trades. You know, buying pound yen after it rallies 700 points. You know, I just wanted to be in, and it pulls back to maybe 136.50, 136, and then, you know, much better level. You know, some sort of weak data comes out, you're stuck long pound yen, and your whole, some of the PMIs don't come out strong, and you know the whole deer falls apart. And you're like, how did I get stuck in that? Well, you bought impulsively, and you didn't give up, right? That's, you get yourself into trouble yourself, right? So yeah, I'm not. I acknowledge that the dollar yen's super strong. I'm hoping I get a nice level. I have a feeling it's just going to go straight to 105. It gets a bit more interesting at 105. And the the pressure on the BOJ to deliver at the next meeting, September 20, is going to be fever point. Because if they cry wolf again and they do nothing, then we've got a serious credibility problem. I mean, the BOJ's already got a serious credibility problem. No one believes they've got a handle on the economy. No one believes they can create inflation. No one believes Abenomics is working. You know, they've just gone absolutely nuclear to get the weakening US yen. And it's barely above 100. Now, the thing we're looking for from them at the next meeting is going to be this whole buying foreign bonds policy they've been mooting around. How they do it, how aggressive they are, and whether the G7 gets upset with them for intervening in their currency by stealth is going to be part of the dialogue. This software is Pro Real-Time Charts. It's the best charting package I've seen if you're using multiple screens. And all these lines are drawn automatically. And I don't really like to clutter my stuff, right? If I'm looking into a particular pair, I might start adding shit, but just generally I want to clean charts, as many as I can get. So at the moment I'm only using two pretty big monitors, but back in the day when I had 6, it was, you know, you can have 30, 40 charts up. It was, it's a good program for that. And it's getting better, they're upgrading it. It used to be Java, now it's whatever it is. I'm not sure what that program is. But Java's been killed off, so it's doing something else that's quite nice. What has Smart done, guys? I see there's a bit of a discussion here about Smart. Involved in a pound situation today? Oh, Jesus. Look, I like Smart's trading. It's a little risky for my liking, but I think he's very, very good. I haven't looked at it recently, but he's obviously a talented trader. He may have got himself into trouble, and when you get yourself into trouble, it's hard. Yeah, that's the hardest part, right? Not when you're making money, it's when you're losing. But yeah, no, I still believe in his ability. Oh, he didn't let the pound yen run. I mean, it had a big bounce though, right? It was worse before then, right? I mean, it was, if he had a bigger loss before and then he let it bounce and then close out for a small loss, that's good. It was a real loss before. Before he closed it, it was a real loss, guys. If you're carrying a loss, it's real. If he minimized that loss, that's better. I know you probably wanted him to get out. Oh, pound short. Well, I mean, that's... I think he had to get out now. Look, I'm not going to talk about it unless I go and look at his trading. I'm not... you guys, I'm getting the wrong directions. If he was pound short and he closed, that's the right thing to have done right now, in my opinion. Tough game though. Tough game signals. Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to quickly look at a couple of the trade ideas in the room. And then we're going to Jay the Analyst. I'm working during the day. I don't get to see his streams. I should watch a couple. He's long dollar yen. He's my friend then. Jesus. He's short Aussie. He's my friend. I love this guy. You get some ups. Let's have a look at these chart. Not much in the way of description though. Alright, well, like his directions, I'm a bit worried about his levels. A CAD yen short by FX Dash. See, the CAD weakness from the sell-off in oil, that is real. But dollar yen probably going to win that battle. But if you're going to sell any sort of yen cross, then selling CAD yen makes the most sense. Interesting trade. Don't know why he wants to do it though. It's got good risk reward. I suppose I have to like that. Thank that. It's called thank now. Nick went long on the euro. With a tight scalp. I don't know if he survived that. Let's have a little look. I doubt he did. That was a pretty bearish Asian session for the euro, I believe. When was it? 4 hours ago? I think he got stopped out. There's a lot of people going long euro. Let's have a look at the reasoning here. I mean, I agree with everything he's saying. I don't know if what's to do with the actual trade. I want to know the plan. Give me the plan next time, Albanese. Oh, he just puts the same thing on every trade, right? Okay. Alright, well, good luck. It's going to be interesting. I'm a little bit against you on these trades. But I mean, look, the NFP is going to be wild, so it's not really like it matters too much what happens the next 24 hours. And that's the last one's 11 hours ago, so that's a bit far away. I like Jay's trades. I like Jay's trades. And FX Stats trade is interesting. Alright, now who was giving us the bum steer before? It was Danksky, wasn't it? Coming out with some ridiculous 200-day moving average. Probably using a line graph. Let's see if we can find them. I'm probably not even saying Danksky right. Damn Aussies with the unculturedness. I swear, I told you, alright? I told you. They put this 73.80. Now I look like a fool because I didn't double check that level. And I told maybe 20 clients that's the target on the downside break of 75 on the Aussie. Golly gosh. I don't know if we can trust this. So it's powered by Forecast. Now Forecast is another group similar to Trading Central, similar to that other crew. So these are technical guys, right? Who's that other dude? There's other dudes that do auto chartist. Similar to auto chartists, a lot of brokers use them, a lot of banks use them. But if this is what they're giving us, some terrible moving averages, I mean, maybe it just hasn't been updated, right? But they published it, so it should be updated. But that's where I got that 73.80 from, and I think that just obviously we've got to be careful with this report going forward. Don't just assume every technical level that you see on some of these bank reports are true. Yeah, let's not talk about Aussie Kiwi until it starts going higher. We're just gonna avoid it. I'm with you, Momo. So many people along Aussie Kiwi. I feel like it's the pain trade in the market right now. So sometimes when you hear this term, the pain trade, it's a trade where everyone's on the opposite side. So the pain trade right now for, say, what could be another pain trade? If the euro goes to 120, that move from 116 to 120 would probably be a pain trade for all the people that's still short. If the dollar yen breaks 100, the pain trade would be all those people who are long above 100 and just sort of seeing where it can get to and close everyone out. The Aussie Kiwi is in a pain trade right now where it's going close to all-time lows, keeping on going and not giving any sort of relative reversal, not giving us any hope. It's like the dark Sith Lord coming to kill us. So I'm just not even going to look at it for a little while. Jenny and Shua, are you in the Aussie Kiwi yet? I know you guys are pretty disciplined. You probably avoided it because it's not showing any reversal signs. Should we have a look at it? We got to look at it. Too many people who have been listening to the rant about the divergence trade between the RBNZ, RBA. It's just killing. It looked pretty good there. Hey, when I bought, it looked pretty good. Yes, and now it looks like death, but get this sneaking suspicion it's going to go for parity. Oh, that one's going to cost me. That one is going to cost me. So you can see there's a few big levels. Euro's finding support and trend line. Dollar yen's coming up towards their trend line. Pound, this chart now looks completely different, right? Target on the pound's actually 135, if we can get a little bit higher. Euro Swiss, we haven't been filled on that trade for a while. I just want to check how, oh god. So it's broken out of the range and not come back in. It's not a false break, it looks like. We might raise our entry point now. Chase it a little. Probably bad. Alright, we're going to put it just above 109. See, now this makes me wonder who's right. I've got two charts showing me that the 200-day moving average is at 74.15, and I've got Danske Bank saying it's 73.80, and I've got Credit Suisse, which is a bit more respectable than Danske, technical report saying 73.80. I don't know who to believe anymore. We only trade with positive swap, so you can go to war and not get into trouble. You know what these bloody brokers are doing now, though? I mean, a lot of them are now increasing that spread swap that you can't even get. Like, Pepperstone and AxiTrader is now negative on the Aussie long swap, which is crazy stuff. They're really taking advantage of the retail trader. Regardless of what that 200-day moving average is, it's still the same argument holds that the downside here on the Kiwi, just to get back to more relevant levels, is a bigger move. And that's what we need to happen to get this Aussie Kiwi to reverse. And since we're probably going to be talking about it for the next 6 months, we might as well get in-depth knowledge about what's going on with the two majors. Because remember, the Aussie Kiwi is a synthetic cross. It's not that important compared to the majors. And I'm pretty interested in getting long the Euro Yen as well, guys. We talked about that the last few days. Similar to the Pound Yen, but not as dangerous. A little bit more quiet. Should do well if the Fed's raising rates. Should do okay if the Fed's not raising rates as well. And Euro Pound obviously is one of our favorite trades, and we're looking to get short as soon as possible. Wait, your pound crosses must be negative swap as well, sure. Your pound Kiwi and your pound Aussies, and at the moment they look like they're ramping up into longs, right? Don't you tell me fibs about not going long on negative swap crosses. Or you're only going to hold them for half a day. Pound Kiwi's really got some upside. Alright, boys. Look, that's enough of the data today. Don't think there's anything particular. Tomorrow we're going to do a bigger one. Probably start half an hour before the NFP, go over a few games. Mostly we're going to be looking to buy the US dollar after the NFP, but we'll go over a few of the different releases. And keep in mind as well, just as a preview in case you can't catch this tomorrow, the whips that are caused a lot of the time are caused by the revisions. So don't get too excited by just the headline number. Make sure you go and check the revisions. If it's a really strong headline, but the revisions are quite big on the downside, then you might get that reversal that we commonly see on non-farms. Alright, so just be a little bit careful. Of course, with non-farms you have to be careful, but are we positioning for US dollar strength afterwards? Unless it's really terrible. Alright guys, good luck with your trades. If you need anything, send me a PM. I will have a look at it, answer you as best as I can. Trade safe.